What's up, Magic Makers? Drew here, and this is it's the favorites of 2018 tag, I guess, something like that. I believe it was started by Mina from Goth Witch. Then a couple of my favorite witches did it, and when I watched their videos, I really wanted to participate. I think it's really fun. I actually think that I might want to do it again at the end of 2019, whether I actually make a video for it or not, just out of curiosity, particularly for a few of these questions. So here we go. There are 18 questions, and I'm a little late on the party, but I had so many VRs lined up that I wanted to get out. I was putting out, at least 2 videos a week there for a little bit, and I just didn't want to be putting out a video every single day. So I tried to stretch it out to where it was only 2, at most 3 videos in a week to kind of try to get them out. So here we go. Question number 1. What is your favorite magical item that you either bought, made, or were gifted in 2018? So I have at least, I think, 4 besoms. One is one that I made and it's mainly for show. One is one and the other 2 were purchased, and one is more of a Samhain decoration than anything to do with my magic. But then there's this one, and I made this last year with friends. We get together and we do witchy things, and we made this. I love this. This is the favorite thing that I made, not only because I love it, but because I was with my friends and we were crafting together, and I love when we do that. So my little besom here is my favorite tool that I made in 2018. Number 2 is, what was your favorite spell or magical exercise of 2018? That would actually be this. This is called spirit powder, although I call it spirit dust. In the very top, you can see that there is ash in there. And I could have done the whole bottle of ash, but I would have had to do the working multiple times. And I felt like this was good. I put herbs in that I associate with communication and guidance and offerings. And I will leave a link to the video from Azrael, Angel of Melancholy, where I got the idea for this from. He didn't use it in specifically the way that I did, but it lent itself so nicely to it that I went for it. Essentially, I have no tie to any of my ancestry. My family's history is muddled and secretive, and at any rate, my path is shamanic, and I did not actively seek that out. It was kind of dropped on me, and I embraced it, and I go forward with it, and my ancestry is mixed with European descendants and Native American ancestry, and my great-grandfather was full-blooded Native American, but I never met him, I never knew him. He actually had his children pass for white. It's a whole thing. At any rate, I did this working for him, to connect with him. So this is a representation, a connection with my great-grandfather that lives on my ancestor altar. This is my favorite thing, my favorite working that I did this year. I did several workings, but this is my favorite. Number 3, what's your favorite witchy tool that you work with? And it's such an easy out, but it's my mortar and pestles. If you've watched my channel, you know that I collect. I have shown my collection. I have several, but there are 3 in particular that I work with on a regular basis. And one of them is right here beside me. Actually, 2 of them are. When I just have a little quick something, I grab this little guy. It's my very first mortar and pestle I ever had. And then here is the mountain. This is Gregor. My newest addition, aside from the mortar and pestle that I got that belonged to Artemis Nightingale. And this is used for stone or anything of that nature. And I have another one that's big like this. She's deeper, she's black, she's made of a little bit different. She's like got a glaze on her. She's called Big Mama. She has a different pestle. This is a Mexican one here that I use for my stones. And she is purely for herbs and powders and things of that nature. But they are my favorite tools. They are the tools that I work with most extensively in my practice. Number 4 is, what was your favorite element to work with and why? Now this one really fascinated me, and this is the one that I want to especially revisit each year and kind of see, because I don't think I'm overly drawn to one element or the other when it comes to working, while I think certain spells or whatever lend themselves more easily to a certain element, so that's the first place I go. I'm not particularly drawn. So I think it's fascinating to look at what kind of magic was performed through my year based on what element I worked with most. So if there was a lot of fire, you can bet there was a lot of releasing going on that year. This year was earth. And that was because I did a lot of things, a lot of work that either required dirt, earth, soil from my yard, graveyard dirt of my mother, or I went out and actually buried things. I did bindings and things of that nature. I did the hot foot jar and buried it in my dad's neighborhood. I did the swamp jar and buried it at the front of my yard. I did the binding of a relative left something in my home that was unpleasant, and I did a binding, and we went and we buried it in the Croatan forest. And there's just been a lot of earth work in my work this year, which I thought was really interesting because I love to burn shit. So my first reaction would be like, oh, fire. But when I actually sat and thought about what it was, there was more earth in my magic this year. Number 5 is, what was your favorite deity, angel, or energy you worked with and why? So I will work with anybody that comes to me, any kind of, if it's going to better my path and better my life, I'm going to work with it. The reason that this angel is my favorite this year is because it is the only new energy entity, angel, deity, whatever, that has come into my life over the past year. And actually only came in, I think at the end of November. And this is Zedekiel, an archangel that I have never worked with before now. I work with 4 archangels on a regular basis. We're very comfortable. We know each other. I've been working with them for over a decade. This is completely new. And my experience of this angel and my connection to this angel is very different than anyone that I've had. And admittedly, I haven't done a whole lot of work with him actively. And that's my own fault. It's something I need to go ahead and do in the new year. But he was introduced to me by one of my soul sisters. She had a dream about this angel. And when she woke up, she didn't feel like it related to her. So she just thought of me and she told me about it. And when I started looking into this angel, I was like, yep, somebody I could definitely work with. And then when I called him in to connect with him, it was so powerful. I haven't had that kind of, that powerful connection with a spiritual entity in such a long time. So I'm very excited and very happy to be working with Zedekiel. So number 6, what was your favorite thing you crafted? So this year, and I only have one of them sitting here, so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. Make my face go away. It looks like a little rabbit turd. It absolutely does. It smells amazing. It doesn't smell as good when it burns, unfortunately. But Brittany from Palm Tree Bewitchery did a video where she was making her own incense, and I am going to be making some of my own capet at some point. I just love the process, the way that Mirth and Reverence does hers. I love that alchemical process of it. And just when I watched Brittany's video, I was like, it just went ding. Okay, so this is a 7 angels incense. So I used a very alchemical process in making it, and there are 7 main archangels, and they are associated with a different day of the week. And I took them and aligned them with their day of the week, except for I felt like 2 of them were not on the right day, and I moved them because it just wasn't in alignment as far as I was concerned. And then I chose an herb. Now, some of the angels had you could look and research and find an herbal associations. And if there was one on the list that resonated with the day, and at least with the 4 angels that I worked with regularly, I knew where to go, because we're good. Like, I understand how they work with me in my life. So an herbal association was not difficult at all. But with 2 in particular, because I'm starting to get a feel for Zedekiel, it was a little bit harder, and I kind of had to, there was no information for me to find, and I kind of had to just sit with it and intuitively choose. But I worked out 7 ingredients, and on each day of the week, I worked with the angel for that day and called them in, and I created this environment, this space for this energy. And I worked the ingredient. I also had a liquid set aside, and so I'd work the ingredient, I'd set it in this glass bowl that had a lid, and I would shake the liquid ingredient up and have the angels bless, that angel bless the ingredient to be, to have the correspondences of whatever they preside over. And I did this each day and just layered it each day. And then on the 8th day, I mixed everything and I made this incense, and it was for my husband, for Yule, because he's an alchemist and he also works with angels. And I loved it. It was so fun. And it's probably my favorite, in part because it is the most recent, but I really enjoyed that. I really enjoy that sort of disciplined, I work with planetary hours for this reason. I really like this, getting all the energies into alignment and having this concentrated process when it comes to stuff like that. So that I enjoyed that. Number 7, what was your favorite ritual? This year was not ritual heavy, but the first one that pops to mind, and it wasn't an elaborate ritual, but when our dear friend Artemis Nightingale, Jana, passed away, in our little Facebook group, I did a live, and I basically did a ritual. It was in alignment with what the people in her physical life were doing at that moment. They were having a ceremony for her at the local pagan church she attended with her husband, a sort of crossing ritual, crossing ceremony. And so we came together on Facebook and lent our energy to that. And that was my favorite. That is my favorite. Number 8 is, what was your favorite shadow work experience? I only did one thing of shadow work this year. That was in February. So we had the blue moon this year. And because of the way the moons fell, there was no moon in February at all. And February is my birth month, for one. It's the shortest month of the year, obviously, which is why there was no full moon in that month. And I felt like that's special, and that there was a special energy there. So I dedicated the month of February to shadow work. And it's actually probably my favorite shadow work I've ever done. I will say favorite, because it was the most immediately fulfilling. Like, I've done, deep down, dirty, gross shadow work, and it doesn't feel good, and you don't see immediate results. But with this one, I did. And without getting too into it, I basically just sat and I did Sith with all the women in my life ever that were like a real integral part of my life, and that there was any pain associated with. And like, one of them was my soul sister who named me, and the only pain that was associated with her was that she died. So, I mean, different reasons for pain, but I sat and I called them into my space one at a time. I started with my mother. So I called my mother in, and I started doing Sith. And as I'm doing this, because you're saying, I love you, I apologize, please forgive me. And I also say, I forgive you, and I am grateful. So as I'm doing this, all these things are coming to me. Stupid things from, her punishing me when I felt I shouldn't have been punished, just whatever. All of these things are coming to me, and, it's very cathartic, and I'm crying. And so I'm facing all of these things. So I've never done shadow work that way before. I will do it again, though. I'm going to do it with the men. I don't know if it'll be next year. I don't know when, but It was very powerful. And I did this over the full month. But by the end of the month, I really felt there was a friend who I was close to, and we had a falling out. We don't talk to each other anymore because of a relative of her. Like, neither of us did anything. It's this relative decided they had a problem with me, so now we don't have a relationship. And that was so hurtful to me. Not only did I not do anything wrong, but you had nothing to do. It was really devastating. But by the end of that month, I came to terms with it, and I was good with it, and I was okay with it. So, at any rate, I've gotten too much into detail, but this year's shadow work for me, the 2018's shadow work for me, was the best and most fulfilling immediately. Number 9, what is your favorite way to set your space? I'm like Trish and Brittany. My home is sacred space. I have 2 different grids on the property that we reboot at least once a year. The home itself is full of crystals, and we smudge, and there's no fighting in the home. I don't have people in my home who will make the energy in my home uncomfortable. We've been in this home for 6 years. This home is sacred space. So I very rarely cast circle. I have many ways that I create space for working, whether that be music, ringing a bell. I have a rattle for when I work with the ancestors, using incense, whatever. But right now, my favorite that I work with every time I create space is this lovely smudge stick that Trish from Beanbag Hagwag sent me. I adore this. I love this so much. So this is what I use right now when I'm creating sacred space. Number 10, what was your favorite tarot or oracle deck of 2018 and why? Well, my favorite tarot deck for always has been, at least, 12 years, has been the Osho Zen Tarot. And yeah, it's my favorite. I've talked about it in other videos. It is my go-to always for tarot. I find tarot very distracting. And I have to have a very specific kind of deck to be able to tap into my intuition and really give a good reading. So there's that. And I don't know that I have a favorite oracle deck. I own at least 9 oracle decks, and I work with them all. Some more than others, but I work with them all. And I did just get this one, this numerology, I don't want the glare, oracle deck, and I haven't really gotten too into that yet because I just got it for Yule, but I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also getting a Kuan Yin oracle deck that hasn't come in the mail yet, also a Yule present from in-laws, and so it's a whole thing. You get an Amazon card and you order what you want. So I'm waiting on that. So I'm looking forward to working with those 2. So I guess those would be, I technically don't have the Kuan Yin deck in my hands, but it was a Yule gift. It just hasn't arrived yet. Number 11, what's your favorite YouTube channel you subscribed to this year? That is so hard. I've subscribed to so many wonderful channels, and I would love to name all of my witchy sisters. You know who you are. I love you, and I love your channels. But when I heard the question, 2 answers popped to mind immediately, and one was Danny Mystic. And that's because she is fabulous and I adore her. And she is someone who I've just newly subscribed to a little while ago, but not terribly long ago. And then there's also Nina Plavnik, and also someone who I'm newly subscribed to. And I love Nina because I don't know too many witches who are just like legit in their lane pagan witches who identify as such, who are out there. And I mean that in the best way possible. Like, I am 100 full on shamanic pagan witch. But I am also a starseed, which goes to the shamanic part. And like, I can go out here into some weird, let's talk about Lemuria, let's talk about the Pleiadians, let's talk about the Arturians, let's talk about crazy alien stuff, let's talk about quantum physics, and just so many out there wow, things that are not in your average witch's path. And I don't really do that on my channel. I don't know if I ever will, but like I'm there. So when Nina starts talking, I'm just like, it's a breath of fresh air to me. So I adore those two lovely ladies. Number 12, what was your favorite YouTube video you watched? And this is going to be an easy like out because I don't have a favorite, or at least I couldn't immediately conjure one to mind. So I would have had to go through and just look and try to figure it out. So I picked tags. I really do like tag videos. I feel like it gives me an opportunity to look deeper into witches that I have met on this platform or that I watch and that I really enjoy. And so I get to know them a little bit better and they get the opportunity to know me a little bit better too. So plus they're usually fun. So I picked tags. Number 13. What's your favorite witchy magical show you discovered this year? Now, my generic answer is going to be Sabrina because it's the only one that I discovered this year. On that, I actually really enjoyed it. A lot of people throw shade at it, and I think it amuses me that they do, because some of these witches are the witches who love hocus pocus and practical magic. Really? They're depicting witches as wanting to eat children, and you think that's fabulous, and it's okay, and it's wonderful. But, you know, in Sabrina, they're, you know, they interchange heaven and hell, and everything is the opposite as it would be in Christianity, and you're offended and you're upset, and it's not an accurate depiction. Well, it's Hollywood, and it's never going to be an accurate depiction. It's fiction, it's fantasy, and it's supposed to be over the top and ridiculous, and it is over the top and ridiculous, and I like it. I really like it. Now, if you don't like Sabrina for other reasons, that's fine. I mean, I honestly don't care. I just think it's amusing when I hear witches griping about its inaccuracy and how it depicts us, and when, you know, they're in love with other witchy things that do the exact same thing in a different way. Having said all that, I did not discover this show this year. Actually, we discovered it in real time when it came out on Showtime years and years and years ago. But my favorite magical show that I watched this year, because we rewatched it, is Carnival. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest you check it out. It's awesome. Number 14. Give an example of a really good feeling you had and an experience behind it. And I'm going to try not to get emotional. I still have a video to put out at some point. It may take quite some time because I want to... there's all this raw emotion and all this bad stuff, and I want to end it with the conclusion and when everything is good. And this all relates to Hurricane Florence coming through and ripping my house apart. And it was very devastating and hurtful. And while right now we're in an in-between stage, everything is okay. Not fixed. We at least have a roof now. We still don't have a ceiling in the kitchen and the garage. And I mean, nothing else has been done. All we have is a roof. And here we are, and it's 2019. But having said that, I wasn't expecting anything. I was just sharing, I'm already getting emotional, my experience in real time and letting everybody know why my channel might be messed up for a while. And so I showed everybody, I did a little live real quick showing the sort of personal devastation that I was going through. And my witchy sisters rallied around me very quickly. And there were even some that I didn't expect to rally. Like, I didn't expect it at all. But like when Raw Spirit put it in motion, you know, I knew that there were certain people that were going to jump on board because I know they love me and I love them. But then there were other people that I didn't even, like, I never felt so completely part of a community and looked after and cared for. It was very moving and very beautiful, and I will remember it until the day I die, and will always be grateful for this beautiful community that I've become a part of. I love you all. Okay, number 15. What was the best change you made for this year? And witchy speaking, after the hurricane came through, I set up a working altar. I have never had one of those. I have a prosperity altar, and we would always set up a ritual altar for the Sabbats or the you know, espits or whatever it was we were doing. But I normally just did my workings wherever I felt like, the kitchen table, my desk in the studio, on the floor, wherever I felt like. And I just decided to set up a very elaborate working altar and actually started doing workings at the altar. And I'd never done that, and I just felt really connected, and I really enjoy. I don't even know how to describe it. I really enjoy working at my working altar. And so that, I think, on a witchy level, was the best change that I made of 2018. Number 16, what was your favorite part of Samhain, the Witch's New Year? Now, the hurricane had just come through. We actually didn't do ritual. It was just, we were so drained, and it just wasn't, I wasn't feeling it. So for me, honestly, going out and getting the candy, and I make up big bags of candy for the kids to come, like we're the good house in the neighborhood. And so making up the candy goodie bags and having the kids come to the door and seeing them in their costumes and giving them their candy, honestly, was my favorite. That was my favorite thing about this particular Samhain. Number 17 is, what's the one New Year's resolution you're going to be most dedicated to? Okay, I do not make resolutions because I don't keep them, but the thing that I am most determined to be dedicated to and to work out in this coming year is fixing our house. We need new floors, we need a new back door, sliding glass door, we need all of our windows resealed, we need, I mean, there's just so much stuff that we need, siding, to fix and to get back to any sort of sense of having a whole, complete, beautiful home. And so that is where my focus is going to be. But just behind that is self-care. Now, what do I mean? I love myself. It's not that. It's over this past year, like my self-care routine just kind of went out the window. Like if you see my fingernails, they're, you know, all shiny and nice. And that's because I've started again. I always kept my nails manicured, taken care of, had a clear coat on them, because while they grow really great and they're fairly strong, they're brittle, so they break pretty easy. And I used to do a weekly mask, and I mean, just all these so many little things that I did for self-care that just kind of fell by the wayside last year in 2018. So I have started doing this again, and just, I call it goddess work, honestly. I treat myself like a goddess. I take goddess showers, just really focusing on feminine energy, feminine beauty, and how my physical body is an expression of goddess. Number 18, what's your favorite experience of sharing magic with someone else this year? So, I have many, because I have a couple soul sisters that we get together and we do things. My dear soul sister, we get together all the time. We typically like to get together once or twice a month. It's been a little while because of all the holidays and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we made rattles, we made besoms, we did spell bottles, we just all kinds of things. It's not, sometimes we just hang out and eat lunch and just talk, and you know, we did a releasing ceremony at the New Year last year, just like all kinds of things. But honestly, if I had to pick one that's the favorite, is there's this little hippie this little hippie chick who I adore, who pops in and out of this dynamic with me and one soul sister in particular, and joins us on our witchy playdates. And I just love this. She cracks me up because I'll start talking about witchcraft and magic, and literally her jaw will drop and she'll look at me like it's just, she is just so enamored and so just like, more, tell me more, please, so thirsty. And I just love it. I adore it. She cracks me up. It's just so fun exposing her to witchcraft. Okay, this is probably a very long video. It says 30 something, but by the time I edit it, hopefully it'll be less. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, much love and gratitude.